Sename sama wakwaba bi mumbra onia TV so mejidi se wo hoye se wahwa ase edwumadi no ani adane kakra se wote ya se yi free studio kakra na ya baha ye ndandemu na enche mejidi se bi afie akine ko no se nyame ye adoma bibia be hya ase wo ha kosi se bosome no ebekọ na wiye eba ne saa mpacho enye ejane na yedi nsu aguso fabe woso no from yawada ekono eni be dane kakra eni be dane kakra timi pesa me bo nkai answer na agaso captain wan kanchre ti eni no be dane kakra ye be ka Ghana niam ayira ho asem it's yawada no Michelle Bo last year said $600 million a year every year ewo Ghana no yawada na me yes story no nti afibia no $600 million a year from the Ministry of Finance every year abaye culture akaho ayi kwasibotwe onim setepe onim kwabnadofo onim kanoforiata onim se eyira da ti nyame ya adoma yawada I will show you evidence miensa every year bia no Ghana Ministry of Finance says $600 million what show mu books wo mu hu 2 years later no mo so mo hu scarlet me yira 2 years no ma sen hu enti nyame ya adoma no eye yawada timi bo nkae preko sementimi anwie a ye beto aso efiada na afei yakohwe ye tie factory na menim de sese kwa me nkroma starte electrical cables factory ewo Ghana aka nwuram ewo mankasim ti ye be chew eno nso ye wie tie na ye be kwa rubber factory ho ti Ghana ye japade a ayire yina moving pick Ghana dia sa hotel na ni din the ambassador hotel document na diversity implementation committee mpacho ma men kai mo musimu hu e o me ho wani document no e o me ho almost ayira eti ye nim nipa ye ton ambassador hotel man na enda be moving pick no Ghana nim ti nipa ko no wantuaka eti ye de no so be ko ene ye nema ayira nyina no so the show from nyame ya adoma yawada no eye Ghana proper that's it eno da nchen a echira na yebe bie National Cathedral na no nyame adom yesi awie efe pa obron sama boa ye me yesi amena na wie eti Kenoforiata catcher say on the 6th of March 2024 when yebe bie ano na 7th January 2025 mampania ebenya na Ghana ha no ya swear in ti baumia ana mahama wa abenwen wo begina menanim Ivan Kanso na kofi ewa ha yebenya ye independent meaning if we are sa question we system match bia na fifth match bia bisa are we truly independent Ivan? Yes
Captain the can venture what here for na me mama ba so say mo take Ghana man to a different level because oba had now share design and near my mind na this is truly Ghanaian. And the question as to whether say we are truly independent or not, no, I think say enye ya yeti hai and I yebeka obia owo Ghana and people who have been saying observing happenings in Ghana in your state because I hear where we started from in the sub-Saharan Africa, the first country to badge independence. A few years after, we were able to empower other African states to become independent. And Kroma area independence, it wasn't just about political independence. Ghana didn't hokeke. but he was also seeking some form of economic independence. Be a the average and the ordinary Ghanaian, abaye self-sufficient, abaye empowered. Not Ghana, Nankasa, and Africa, abaye no, abaye self-sufficient. Now say you do that particular stage now, and you bit me a catch there who say, indeed, we are truly independent. And if you have a be started from here, now the kind of vision now war, now ideas. Last time I catch there, obese our headers industrialization driver started here on chroma timer. He realized say Ghana bet me a dear was set young Kasaya self-reliant. Now near man kitten kitty woha. Young Kasaya bet me a produce our ha. Na ye produce na ebe ma yenya ye nkrofo nya adwuma ye na sika ye science sa kwama no ne say ye kokra ne ma sa ne ma nyina eso bete. And then one of the ideas are an industrial city. Our create modern politicians have turned the place into a residential area for land, a portion of land. But Nkrumah could have owned the entire place, but he decided, said, no, let us turn this place into an industrial hub of Ghana, industrial city, and you shall set up factories and industries, not just Tema, but other places. And other initiative or the buyer clearly natural say na Ghana we were moving in a positive direction. And even around that particular time na say abajimimre you remember say na Ghana ya asambo cars wa ha. So if 50 60 years after your politicians take the stage and they convince us say asambo Toyota and other vehicles, these are things that 50 years ago and Nkrumah time na and other nearma or ye clearly say indeed na Ghana pace na ye zoom na ye be enviable nation as be other countries who Ghana as a model. And so here democracy then as for until that unfortunate day Nkrumah was overthrown by certain me using the words I would say traitors and certain elements with certain external force and since then politics we assemble few greedy people in the name of politics. They come capture political power, and all that they do is to plunder this particular state. And it's very easy. So be by a politician and they take it to wealth, all of a sudden, and we are not able to ask why Nipa that particular sika because Obia is not answerable to Obi, and consistently the youth and the young people in the country deserve better life, deserve certain economic empowerment. They end up desperate, and the veil of desperation is quite apparent. It's obvious, and now I make so here's a president Parliament, the State of the Nation address, and the ordinary Ghanaian are confronted with the daily realities of the economic hardship of Ghana. Wouldn't wait for a president to come and tell him, say, Ghana. The desperation, is quite apparent, it's quite revealing, but so what we need are measures. 67 years after, this is the state of Ghana. Or minor, yes, started as a model, na amount for Yadakam. We have become an embarrassment among member states in West Africa. Look at our debt portfolio and a dollar rate in us for, and we've actually manufactured nothing because industries are now Nkrumah say cables and ties. Those days this near my we should have a kukra ya said ya just say and ya allow in import and amount for you connive with few people because we get money and they are importing virtually everything to this country. But I know that they almost sell it to Ghanaians and we are not creating any enviable opportunity. And then Ghana will be a so here economy and then the political system we are captain. Nobody is safe. Because our society, most of the youth are desperate, and nobody is thinking about creating incentive. President Kojina Parliament last week for 2 solid hours. He couldn't even say anything about the surging youth unemployment situation, the crisis that has a red fever pitch. In recent times, we've seen a lot of young people moving from TV station to TV station, asking, say, government should put up initiatives. Nothing is being done. So what's your mind? When a majority of the youth near Jumaya, a threaten national security, a threaten your social cohesion. They say a threaten everything because young man only nothing to lose. Captain, they become a cannon fodder in a social warfare between themselves and them in the immediate environment. That person can be enlisted to do a whole lot of stuff. So here. The recent violent extremism cave in around the Sahel region in West Africa, the very people who are enlisted into some of these terrorist organizations are young people because They are desperate. They have absolutely nothing to do. They think that the state no, they have no fair share. And the political establishment, instead of them to realize that no, baby or mine do no say or mine be it dependent on the labor force which largely depend on young people, and that there is the need for us to build the system. It will prioritize young people. System. A bit me, I deliver job for young people. Say or more ya or more dear mohono. Now or mine so baby because you can develop a country without labor force. That is why even America and other places where they've realized labor force, human resources, and age, they've gone to a different step. You import people from other countries to come and fill the gap. But what are we doing? Absolutely nothing. They don't even respect young people in this country. To the average politician in Ghana, they think young person is a tool, it's a commodity. In this whole political system, they can be used to achieve whatever that they want to achieve, or achieve you young person, and prioritize it. And that is the major problem too. And that poverty has become a multi-billion industry in our part of the world. We are young person, so we have access to world capital unless maybe you want to be corrupt or you want to engage in other shady activities. But to sit down and say, may set it up company on my own, may start in America, young people start, and at the end of the day, there are enough incentive. We have such systems here. Even those agencies are creating under various modules like YEA, yes, and then as a former. Lot of political slogans go into these are virtually extension of political party offices where we attempt to siphon money from mainstream politics to private pockets, because individuals now call for primaries this year. Say they are heads of these institutions but the very people they are supposed to provide job for none of them ena adwuma krombenya bi me say ga adwuma no mo ye dia ma party boys kura na say ga party boys ebenya secure job. After all, they are not Chinese, they are Ghanaians, but those so-called party boys na ya enlist or more ye dem go those offices nobody is giving them any job to do. So I know the day sa desperation na egusu na here. So young people and your priority of government. That is why President Bukako Jinaho Asebi in his address for almost 2 solid hours, one country again, issue of political corruption and the bane towards our effort to progress as a nation. Politics now, anybody or at all be taking the center stage suddenly become fabulously rich. At the end of the day, obiam biso obiashe. Bisa I say deterrence ben ya set in a system because my culture say a state. The very moment a state begin to show weakness, and as you begin to show mercy, that nation is done. Because people will capitalize on that particular fact.
That's right.
And for that matter, they will plague the nation. So as a state, we need to take a stance. Now you're making sure, we are not going to allow people to take this nation for granted. But we've created a system motivating people to steal, motivating people to do the excesses, and at the end of the day, nobody does a thing about it. So I am saying, until we as a people better realize there is a need for us to come together and stop what is happening. The loot, the rot, you better take certain measures now. This country, you hope is you better get it somewhere. The captain. We will get virtually nowhere. So young people must rise and take the center stage. Makase, we can't be idle in this whole political way because what Tanaseka said, you belong to the future. That future is never coming. Because that future is being mortgaged by a few greedy guys who have captured political power and they are using it for their own personal whatever. And we need to rise and be active participants in this whole political discourse. Now you realize we playing determine the kind of future we are waiting for. We cannot be mere tools. We cannot be mere consumers of political. Your friend is saying, but we must be active participants. In doing so, we need to be very rational. We need to be very wise because you invest too much of emotions, too much of tribalism, too much of this ethnocentric supremacy ideology. The very moment we invest in politics, because you will not be rational to be able to sit down and do critical analysis and ask me, Kofi, I a president. Is he really doing it? But if it is about the kind of unholy relationship I have with Kofi, and because we have that ties, or the bonnet mean to me, Captain Smart, Madame for, or in Semuna mean to me, for that matter. And at the end of the day, by the time I realize, that is why 67 years after, Ghana, how far have we come? Industrialization drive now commercial there is absolutely nothing I bet me celebrate I am proud of, and I am very sure countries out there, our neighbors like Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and other countries almost saw Ghana as a fledgling democracy about 50 years ago, no? And then they will all be disappointed because there is absolutely nothing. Because Ghana that come and I declare bankruptcy. Domestically, people who have invested their money in government, say government, hey, those people, government have come to them and said, no, we are doing domestic debt restructuring as a result of somebody's recklessness, because of somebody's incompetence. And these people are not even willing to accept the responsibility. Because if you go in and ask yourself, how did we get here? Then you find the answer of the cathedral will come in. A certain crazy person sat down and says, or ne nyankopon akasa na o say obesi dan ma nyankopon. Na captain enya dama. What's the nyankopon boss obesi dan ya? Wo do sika na si. One for my sika nkosi dan. When the people in the country have not come to a consensus say they need a cathedral, wo na wo say wa kwese nyankopon bo. So for usika kokosi. But for whatever reason, yen nyina ya pushi yen and they enlisted so-called men of God sabi omodi nyankopon kata omoni. And they know very well, say, if you go to villages, the kind of challenges and troubles young people are going through, there are Ghanaians who travel through Libya, Italy. I met a young man who recently returned from Italy. Now, maybe say, why will you take such a dangerous risk? Or say, oh, him so but because if you are nobody respects him because only Juma and that is okay for him. But these are people with immense and baby okokodru yeno and nejinin as for the year Juma elsewhere. He has become self-sufficient. So I think we need to do a lot.
Kofi,
Captain, Yichiao. Last week here myself me hope say Oman huye ye de onyankopon hira reka Ghana fo ye di chia Ghana fo na ye mamuna afishia pa na ebusuafo muntie kasa ye reka wa ha nei ene den ene say anniversary a year of independence. Now, last week, legislature passed legislation say yenye ban LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer. Yempewa Ghana, yina yinimsa say yempewa Ghana. Na me pese me ka asem na me de kire Ghana fo me sre mu munti asem a me beka ni ye. You see, last year no demonstrators say young legislature government of NDC and MPP for ye na chum. Wo ye na chum to the extent that any kambia adinti na me kasa. Ebusuafo wo hwe the record speed a what they pass say lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, lawyer. Eye wonwa. San wo to me correlate what back together, both sides of the aisle against, then they went at it with passion. The other one I say, but the truth of the matter is say, didn't tinema what passes I D with record speed and it passion now way you know. And they say against young culture. Good. Why are they? But say against young culture, dear. Corruption, they a young culture. Corruption, a young culture now. Changing the constitution, sena yebenya amemupa, sena 1 year sika infio me Captain Kyei say CSA $600 million if he finance every year. Aden yen to me in change young constitution. Na bokitina asinyini no yen siw yen so. Because apparently the demonstration to pass legislation against LGBTQ na kire say ye wo ahoden wanyansafo a wadwene Ghana ho a eba ne say wo ye bibi a wo ye nti aden no ignore corruption. Now for the last 32 years, now according to Accountant General, we say every year you lose $3 to $4 billion to corruption. Now, incidentally, na esro say no ebin so kase oh na Ghana we a sovereign nation na American to me can't say young pass young legislation on LGBTQ ni ade young and ye de yen ho major who food security mo impanyufo na mote parliament and impanyufo a mo akambire America side wo food security and wa na produce food in toast jene kra ye kra ebro ye kra inti se wo rekasa to wo ase adwene no baby say ye adwuma ne say you fight for self-sufficiency ansa na wakogina baby aye wakasa deoxyribonucleic what friend the reference technology awaye yang ye bi won Gucci munim say sa experiment no wotumi de target specific races inti wotumi ye nnuan yang mofra nnuan a ye di wokrom ha ye wokrom ha ye ni industry ye mofra nnuan yang a ye nnuan kra wodi fi abrochiri na eba yen vaccines yen president to me kobobosia de fa plane kwa abrochiri kobobosia de bitua plane a wabɔ ne ka de nkae no kopachew je vaccine ba yenye vaccine synthetic pharmaceuticals and crofo yira metabolic niame ekum Ghana for koye pathology report na hwe meboa wo kohwe pathology report be kani na actual say metabolic diseases na ekum yensin bimbia synthetic pharmaceuticals na eboa ne sa chronic diseases no bisa say yen ye bia na if you abrochiri na eba it is obejana now flex so muscles now can say you know yen sovereign nation into American to mean country in Chirenga. Aya nam ho yesro. Baby a SSA adwene no wo no. Ne say yes solve yen corruption problem. Because you solve a corruption problem, ni yetumi save yen 3 to $4 billion a year na. And can no betumi lead yen onto a path of self-sufficiency. Sena edu brea ye kase yempe lesbian gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, near meya. You bet me a say yes. Because ye attain food security and you'll be annoying vaccines my Ivan Rika say or can say mofra in ye dumaye. Then ye to me of the 10 things every developed nation who per se would develop as I said we established no in 32 years and this in the MPP yen to me nye mubia. Yentumi nye mu bia ye wa hanom no wobeye your friend GMO genetically modified organisms what they aba wo pese wo di seed yen kontomre yen brode yen banche yen abro wo pese wo seed no what control yen then na mo asinkunwa wo ho say yen can to stop this from happening what to wonom na hey ye sovereign nation inti den we a sovereign nation na woni nyansa e ma sovereignty. Sovereign nation no wodi nyansa no wodi chichi sovereignty enye kasa inti mo a kasa bebre say oh the sovereign obi ntumi nkan say nkyere no wonni vaccine wonnya aduan wonnya car wonnya machine wo computer wo space obi no control GPS ya ye de kobay wo satellite control why satellite ni bi wako space da ya etumi assemble R&D research and development facility krampo yenye sika ansa esa ye de koye bibi titiru no wo so onyankopon ne wakasa na wokosi wo friend cathedral esa say wo build bibi to say Silicon Valley na what de nyansafu gu won wo dwere say aye me wonwa
kofi me bisa ye wie
we Silicon Valley de da wa ye adwuma
ami pa say Ghana ha de ne ye wie want to question na say
oh Ghana ha
kwa Penny Thomas Mensa
iti
America baye
wo share no so am oguan fi krom ha
ena ye de ne bre me e wo multimedia
no interview
me interview no obeye madamfo ye de train be fa wiem ye be tu asase trim ye de car be fa ho
enene
me ono Gabi de hwam
oh really
oh chief lunch chencherenche when who say Ghana penny for say aduane nko na ompe omudi di poto wie ye ehu yan say
wafa plane call
say papa no oya person organizing show uncle for beto nyum no omusa
wow
bia ono ka ho those who invented this
internet on the fiber optic
near fiber optic who invented
hey
yeah the na betra krum ha a waste no say ni train no konyankopon ho basa eno bi na so from the call heaven ba na say no
iti Ghana fo abusuafo na America me pese mote ne say hwe the order of priority no enye lesbian gay bisexual transgender queer menkese ehu hia because me kofi granting won't me fall gay mehye me kon obi ani hono ma oye gay wo Ghana mulo ya maye nti obejai obekoso aye na ebia wori hu